Hello, bro. I don't like this. This um, horizontal view, especially when I'm doing books, book review. Not book review. Maybe I'll just pile them up like this. Be easier. There we go, Bob. Let's do it like this. Make it easier. Then you can't see them all. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 books I picked up today. Unexpected pre-birthday present for myself, since me birthday is tomorrow. So there we go. The Women's Room. I believe I already have a copy of this. For every man who ever thought he knew a woman, for every woman who ever thought she knew herself. Most extraordinary bookseller. I will sell this one if I don't already have a copy for sale. I believe that this is the same copy that's been at this store for months, but I could be wrong. 1977, 1979. It's very good shape. I thought maybe I could make it go away. I began to accept dates. I necked in cars. I allowed myself, rather coldly and calculatingly as I recall, to be seduced. Finally, I got engaged. My parents were ecstatic. They must have sensed something was wrong with me. I was engaged to a very handsome guy, a law student at the University of California. He was a gentle fellow, a little bland and uninteresting, but a great sailor, and he had a boat. We went out on it every weekend. That made up for everything else. I thought I could hack marriage to him. I don't know what I was thinking. That marriage was a lot of sailing weekends, I guess. I hated screwing, but I didn't let myself think about that. He was not pushy, and I kept him off me most of the time. When I did give in, I was very drunk. One night he came over to my place late at night, unexpectedly. I was studying. I had an exam in economics the next day, not my strong suit. As you might guess, she grinned. Iso's improvidence was famous. He was out of his mind drunk. He'd been out with a bunch of guys, macho guys, I imagine, who'd been talking about broads and screwing all night. He'd gotten worked up about my dislike for sex, and he'd come over to, as he put it, have his rights. Another night, I might have given in just to shut him up and get rid of him, but this night I wouldn't. I was outraged. I had this eco. What happened? Where did it go? Oh, I had this eco exam. I had to study. It wasn't a question of working for an A. It was a question of not failing. But that didn't mean anything to him. He was ugly, and he stunk of liquor and vomit. He pushed me around the room. He smacked me. I hit him back, tried to push him, but he had 80 pounds on me. In the end, he raped me. That's what it was. All right, I'll stop there before I get fucking banned. The Women's Room for every man. Ike spies Eisenhower and the espionage establishment. Stephen E. Ambrose. And these are a couple little thingamabobos I found at the, what's it say, Euripides Barsanufel. I don't know who it is, since I can't read whatever the fuck this says. Some kind of Spanish. But I got two of those. They were just in another book. They fell out. So I grabbed them and said, I'm taking them with me, bro. Another difference between the Americans and British staff system was in the access to the commanding officer. Monty was something of an extreme example, but his habits made a dramatic illustration of the point. Monty lived in splendid isolation. You know what's really strange is every time I do a video in horizontal feed, it does not bring any motherfuckers to the room, to the channel, live. The other form, of course, 90% of them are probably bots, but just saying. When I do this form, I get a trickle of one or two people in once in a while. Otherwise, I get nothing. The planetarian Planetarization of consciousness. The book is not in great shape. I only paid $1 for it, but I bought it because it's seemingly not a scarce book in itself, but scarce enough that even in this condition, it's probably worth $15. There he is, Dame Rushar. Dane, or is it Ruddier? Ruddier. The Release of Seed Ideas. This new book by Dane Ruddier, which comes as the culmination of his lifelong meditations, will held in no small measure to satisfy a growing need. What is required today, and even more so in the years ahead, are scholars, writers, and thinkers, men and women of vision and wisdom, who can do the necessary pioneering work in unifying the sciences, the arts, and the religions of mankind. Man's primary experience. The Release of Seed. Oh yeah, this is a new book arrivals number 261, I believe, bruv. Immortality, the other side of death. The evidence for life after death. What near-death experiences tell us? The case for the existence of heaven and hell. Another one of these books. Is this from a religious perspective, though? This might be. Might be. You'll see for yourself, bruv. The compelling evidence. Hear the eyewitness testimony of those who have journeyed to death's door and back. Get ready to take a journey unlike any you've ever taken before, a journey to the very threshold of death and back. Immortality. The Other Side of Death is the first book that answers all the fascinating questions you've asked yourself about life and death. I'll be honest, I don't really ask any questions about life and death. I mean, what are you going to fucking do? Where am I going, bro? You're going into the ground. Hockey Tough, a winning mental game. Forward by Mark Messier by Saul L. Miller. I don't know if this book is worth anything, but sports psychology from 2003, I'm going to guess no. But I could be wrong. Be consistent. Testing. One thing that makes a scout's job challenging is reading a young player's potential and predicting who will mature into an NHL player. So yeah, it's one of those kind of deals. I highly doubt it's worth anything, but it is hockey season, you know? It is. Who is this? Mark Recchi. Paul Kariya doesn't let the frustrations of the competitive game pull him away from the focus on being an offensive player. After a devastating hit in Game 6 of the 2003 Stanley Cup Finals, Kariya bounced back to lead the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, forcing a decisive Game 7 against the New Jersey Devils. I think they lost too, didn't they? Maybe they won. Maybe that was the year they won. Anne Rice, Exit to Eden. I know I have at least one copy because I libibbed it and it said I have a copy. But then I checked on eBay and it showed that most copies of Exit to Eden are now going for $10+. So I was like, 50 cents? $10, I'll take it. The First Layer, Chapter 22, Elliot. In the cab, we didn't say anything to each other. I didn't know what to say to her. There was just the pounding excitement of being with her and the fun of being back in New Orleans, riding up St. Charles Avenue under the oak trees towards Napoleon and thinking of all the things we could do if she let us stay here. Let us. Lettuce, bruv. I almost asked her if this was done often, but I didn't want to just yet. Or maybe not ever. Years ago when I discovered Manali's, you never had to wait. But now the whole world knows about it. The oyster bar was so crowded we could hardly hear each other. But we started right in to 24 raw oysters on the half shell and chew beers. How did you first come to New Orleans, she asked, drinking the beer fast the way I did. and devouring the oysters. She sounded natural, like we were just a couple on a date. I found it on my first vacation from the club. Maybe it's because when you go into what's that called mode? When you're just on fucking shorts mode, when it's in shorts mode video, then you can just flip up and down like you can do. And this may not fall into that category, but I've noticed that every time I do this horizontal full screen action, no one shows up. Otherwise, I get 15 or 20 12-year-olds that show up. So maybe this is preferable. Bill Loomis, Christmas in Detroit. And this ought to be exciting. Prangs, Christmas cards. May good digestion wait on appetite. All right. Christmas cards. Of course, you got to have J.L. Hudson's, which was the apex of Christmas in Detroit, probably. There we go. The Thanksgiving Day Parade and seeing Santa. Seeing Santa Claus. See, there's J.L. Hudson's. The Kern Clock, Crowley's, Christmas shopping. The History Press. History, bruv. Detroit, 1930 to 1969. And there's Kearns and there's Hudson's again. David Lee Poremba. I live-bibbed this one and it did not show that I had it either, but I'm pretty sure I do have this book. But now I have it again. Was that the Detroit News? It was. Woodward. Fanny Farmer. Cunningham's Drugs. Robinson's. Quickie. Michigan and Woodward Avenues. Back when Detroit was a real city before the riots in the 60s. I mean, there were riots before then, but the 60s decimated Detroit, and now there's 600,000 people living in this shithole. I mean, the downtown area is nice, but all the rich developers are waiting for the outskirts of Detroit just to fall into absolute total disrepair beyond what they're already at. And they will swoop in and build a bunch of mansions. Hopefully it will alleviate the traffic, because the traffic in the suburbs is not very good, bruv. Not very good. What are we at? 14 minutes almost? Living in the New Age Again. A Journey Through the Corridors of Time by Jerry Issa. It's a bitch, bruv. What is that? The sun and the earth? And maybe Venus. I did a search on eBay for Jerry Issa, and he only had one book. And it was selling for like 25 bucks. So I'm just like, can't go wrong for 25 cents. Did original man on Earth inhabit bodies different than those of present day? Is modern man a genetically engineered species that has evolved over the last million years with his origins forgotten? Has the real story of man been hidden in religious writings and mystery schools, awaiting the return of the cosmic golden age? Is the return of the cosmic golden age occurring simultaneously with the new age of Aquarius? How are we being prepared to break the mental and emotional chains that bind us in fear and superstition, bruv? How? You tell me. Althea, the life of tennis champion Althea Gibson. Obviously, she's a sister. I assume she's one of the first black tennis players. Don't really know anything about her. But this book was free, as were this book. Oh, you can't even see them. This book, and this book. Along with this book, I got 4 books for free at the library because they had a cart, and that's why I've stopped purchasing so many books that I want at that place, because eventually they all end up on the 10-cent cart or the free cart. They must need space to put out new stuff, and stuff like this ends up with me at my house. Book's from 2023, so I mean, I was thinking at worst I could probably sell it to Libib, or not Libib, but what's that fucking place called? Thrift Books, for a couple bucks. Oh shit, I hate when that happens. Well, I'm gonna have to fucking rub it off, bro. I'm not gonna use my finger though, I'll get a raw spot. Anyway, Althea. The life of tennis champion Althea Gibson. Did she win something? She must have if it says tennis champion. There she is, bruv. Doesn't really say what's on the back. I'll have to read the flap. In 1950, 3 years after Jackie Robinson first walked onto the diamond at Ebbets Field, the all-white upper crust United States Lawn Tennis Association opened its door just a crack to receive a powerhouse player who would integrate the game of royalty. The player was a street-savvy young black woman from Harlem named Althea Gibson, who was about as out of place in that rarefied and intolerant world as any aspiring tennis champion could be. Her tattered jeans and short-cropped hair drew stares from everyone who watched her play, but her astonishing performance on the court soon eclipsed the negative feeling cast her way as she eventually became one of the greatest American tennis champions. Gibson had a stunning career. She was raised in New York and trained by a pair of tennis-playing doctors in the South, and her immense talent on the court opened the door for her to compete around the world. She won top prizes at Wimbledon and Forest Hills time and time again. The young woman, underestimated by so many, wound up shaking hands with Queen Elizabeth II and being driven up Broadway in a snowstorm of ticker tape. Ultimately, she became the first black woman to appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated and the second to appear on the cover of Time. In a crowning achievement, Althea Gibson became the #1 ranked female tennis player in the world for both 1957 and 58. 7 years later, she broke the color barrier again when she became the first black woman to join the LPGA. Damn. In Althea, prize-winning former Boston Globe reporter Sally H. Jacobs tells the heart-rending story of this pioneer, remarkable woman who was a trailblazer, a champion, and one of the most remarkable Americans of the 20th century. Very sly-faced writer. As I said, it was from 2023, so